Ladies and gentlemen, there appears to be a degree of political theatrics going on with the DA. You may look at some of the things that they're doing and go, just why? Before we get on to the main video, if I can, yet again, remind you, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. If you have, thank you very much. And if you'd like to support the work that I do, you're welcome to buy me a coffee. That's a donation for those of you who don't know. The link is in the description box below. So before we get on to the main news story, let's get on to some news that you might have missed. Don't know how you'd miss it because there's basically front page news everywhere. And that's Pravin Gordhan died at age 75 following a short battle with cancer. Apparently he just retired. He had just retired from politics and then he died. Everybody sent letters of condolence to the family, apart from the EFF, who say it's good riddance that he's gone. I, for one, won't give my views on Pravin Gordhan, least I say something to upset anybody, so you can let me know what you think in the comment section below. But outside of Pravin Gordhan, let's get on to the main news story. And this, as I said, is the news story that there appears to be a degree of theatrics going on with the DA. So first of all, let's hear what John had to say about the whole remand debacle.
I have had a conversation with Mr. Kavanagh over the course of the last few days, and I'm happy to admit we don't always get it right. We never will. People make mistakes. People don't always get it right. And I think you should be judged on what you do when that mistake has been made, it's been pointed out to you, and what you do thereafter. And so there has been a conversation with Mr. Kavanagh. There is a human resources discussion that's underway. And frankly, I found it far too distracting from the work of my ministry and our government that he is the news story rather than the work of the department. And I have asked him, therefore, whether he would consider stepping aside to enable us to continue and move forward. And I take full responsibility. I take full responsibility for the appointment. In hindsight, there should have been a little bit more due diligence done. In hindsight, there should have been greater foresight. But in an environment of a meteor shower coming in after an election, going straight into an intense negotiation, and then having an imperative to start performing and doing your duties, I think one could be forgiven slightly for some of the mistakes that do get made along the way. And I think you judge people on how they deal with those, not on the original.
Very telling that John now says that this was all a mistake. Look, I, for one, I have many views on this. I'm not saying that John did the right thing by giving him that position. I'm not going to comment on it. It's not for me to comment on. I wasn't involved. With that being said, this does reek of sacrificing your friends in order to secure yourself politically. Not really a good look, is it? Now, I mention this because Ramaphosa has recently had to go before the Council of Provinces. And in that Council of Provinces, he made a speech in which he basically outlined the 10 priorities the GNU had apparently agreed to work on. This was apparently the minimum program. I'm actually going to read them to you because they're interesting. So the first is to drive inclusive growth and job creation, then reduce poverty and tackle the high unemployment costs, create a capable and ethical developmental state, pursue growth that is transformational and inclusive. So what do we mean by transformational and inclusive? Well, he says, we have said that the inclusive growth must support the empowerment of Black South Africans and women. He further says, we will continue to pursue programs that encourage a broad-based Black economic empowerment, employment equity, and support small and medium-sized enterprises. We will continue to protect and uphold the hard-won rights of workers, and we will continue to strive to improve the conditions in which they work and live. That's basically saying that we'll allow the trade unions to continue to be involved in the private sector. He further goes on later in his law speech to say, as part of the implementation of the NHR, we will strengthen healthcare infrastructure and improve the training of healthcare personnel and use technology to improve healthcare management. All very interesting because you see, this speech, you would be hard-pressed to tell that it wasn't just a normal ANC speech. I mean, I've heard this speech how many times before in State of the Nations, right across the country, annually, every year under the last administration. So what you really find here is that the minimum criteria set out by the president for the GNU is basically just the ANC's policy. So why does this become very interesting? Well, as we all know from Friday's video, the BELA bill was due to be signed, and I had a whole video based on the consequences of that. But you see, what became really interesting was the news that the president got up to 50,000 emails on Friday asking him not to sign the bill. But you see, the president signed it anyway.
Implementation on signing should start immediately. However, I have said as president, I am willing to allow those who do believe that a solution will be found to the two clauses that they believe they have solutions for, to give them the opportunity. So I've decided to delay the implementation for clauses 4 and 5 of the bill by a period of 3 months. The rest of the Act is implemented immediately. For 3 months, I allow 4 and 5 to have those engagements. This will give the parties time to deliberate on these issues and make proposals on how the different views may be accommodated. Should the parties not be able to agree, I want to make this clear, should the parties not be able to agree on an approach, then we will proceed with the full implementation of all the parts of the bill within a 3-month period.
So obviously John Steenhuisen came out and did what he's pretty much done on everything so far. He basically showed that he doesn't really have the courage of his own convictions, because he said that whilst the president would sign the bill, John basically did what John appears to be doing quite a lot at the moment, and that is he backed down on his threat to leave the GNU should the president sign the bill. Now, you see, the president could see that there was a degree of dispute occurring between the ANC and the DA, and invited all the key GNU members to Cape Town to discuss how they would deal with conflict resolution to keep the GNU together. Now, interestingly enough, the reports are that the president said that all the top tier members, the ministers of the GNU, should be responsible for the policy direction or the top issues, but they shouldn't be responsible for the second tier stuff, the nitty gritty. That should be left to other people to basically get in and dispute. The president actually said that they need to be involved in high level political issues, and everybody else should be quite happy with that, and they should all deal with the stuff below that. So what does that actually mean? Well, the basic education minister, who is also a DA member, had this to say about the implementation of the bill.
In a long time. So it was long overdue. The bill in itself was long overdue, because what we were dealing with was piecemeal court cases and court findings that were guiding policy making. But we ourselves as the sector had not sat and looked at how do we deal with legislation that will guide the way in which we do work. So the legislation is not only important, it is incredibly useful for us to achieve some of those things that we put down here. It is incredibly useful because when we're talking about the universal access of grade R, those things are contained in the legislation. And so once that process was done, as with any piece of legislation, the legislation is now before the president. And so we wait for him to make his next step. And the next step is, the steps are usually either two things that he could do. He could either, on the basis of Section 79 of the Constitution, decide to send the bill back to Parliament by saying that there are constitutional concerns, or he could merely sign the bill. My understanding is that the President has indicated, as of yesterday, I think, that he will be signing the bill this Friday, the 13th. And so ours, as a department, remember I said that it's important that we insulate ourselves, and starting with me, insulating you from the political headwinds, right? So ours is not to listen to the political noise out there. We are professionals. If a bill is signed, we implement the bill.
Number one.
That's it.
Now, following the signing of the bill, the DA did something rather interesting, and that was it said that it would be taking the bill to court. They said that they were instructing lawyers to dispute sections 4 and 5 of the bill Now, I'm a little bit lost as to why they did this, because the president actually said that he would delay the implementations of these two sections pending a review. He said everything else is going to be implemented, but these two sections, namely the language sections and the admission sections, the points that are basically causing people argumentation, he said those things, we'll deal with them by committee, we'll suspend implementing them for 3 months, and maybe that will be the subject of an amendment, if you will. But the DA says that it's pursuing court action anyway, whilst also saying that it's going to be implementing the Act. And they wouldn't really walk away from the GNU, even if there were things they didn't like. To me, this just all seems like a degree of flip-flopping. I mean, it doesn't seem that the DA seems to know really how it wants to progress with this GNU. Is it just going to bend over and take any little thing that the ANC wants it to say? I mean, the ANC's already set the agenda, and there's a number of things on the agenda that the DA say they don't like. BE, NHR, the BELA bill. It appears like there is a high degree of theatrics going on here. At every opportunity, all the DA appears to be doing is just implementing ANC policy, which coincidentally was one of the things that I called a morning shot. I did say I was a little bit concerned about them getting in bed with the ANC, at least the ANC corrupts them. And many people in the comments asked me at the time, what do I mean by corrupting them? Well, this, basically. Anyway, you can let me know what you think in the comment section below. Are you concerned? Let me know. Until next time.
Carefully. Can you read it? Out loud?
Yeah.
Sure. It says, Dear Liam, happy 8th birthday. Mrs. Trump and I hope you enjoy this special occasion surrounded by the love of your family and friends. We are so encouraged by the strength and determination you have shown throughout your young life and send our love and best wishes to you as you continue to fight. Remember, you are never alone, and we are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers for continued care and good health. May God bless you and your family. Stay strong. Sincerely. Can you tell me who signed that? He knew it was your birthday coming up? What do you say to him?
I love you.
What else do you say?
Thank you.